In my last video, I talked about why Far Cry 3 was so great. I enjoyed talking about a game I love and I wanted to do it again. Originally, I was going to talk about Far Cry 4 as my next video, but recently I purchased a house and I got distracted for a while. These videos take a lot of time and effort to create, and I just haven't had the time past few weeks. When I finally got settled into my new place, the first game I wanted to pick up and play is a game I find myself going back to more than any other. This time was different. This time I wanted to make a video on not only a game I love, but a concept I find fascinating as well. Fallout 4 is a massive game with tons of replayability and attention to detail. The overall plot of the game is something we have seen in history before, and that's what I want to talk about today. Fallout 4's factions, historical significance, and most of all, the repetition. After all, war never changes. Before I begin, I'd like to first say if you like this style of content and share the same taste in games as me, you should consider subscribing. YouTube says only about 35% of you guys are actually subscribed. Anyways, thank you guys and enjoy the video. Fallout 4 has 4 main factions the sole survivor can choose to side with: the Brotherhood of Steel, the Railroad, the Minutemen, and the Institute. The factions we will mostly be talking about today are the Railroad and the Minutemen and their contribution to the plot, as well as their real-life counterparts. The game is set in post-war Boston in the year 2287. If you're not familiar with Fallout lore, I will quickly sum it up for you. Basically, there's a resource shortage across the planet and tensions between nations rise. Eventually, this leads to the Great War. No one knows who fired first, but China and America went to war with each other. The war started on October 23rd, 2077, when nuclear bombs hit all over the world and ended 2 hours later. Some people were lucky enough to stay in a vault, others just anywhere they could avoid the blasts and radiation. So fast forward 210 years, and that's when Fallout 4 starts. The exact date the timeline diverged from our own isn't known. The community speculates it was somewhere around 1947. After World War II, the Fallout universe decided to put a hefty amount of research and resources into nuclear fission and atomic power, whereas in real life, we went the route of digital computing and miniaturized electronics. Hence the reason for the bulky terminals and the lack of cell phones in the universe. This also explains the 50s aesthetic and the 30s architectural designs found throughout the games. This timeline split is important because the history before this is the exact same as our own. People say history does not repeat itself, but it often rhymes, and Fallout 4 has done a great job of playing into this inevitable fact of human nature. There's many instances of history not quite repeating itself. For example, the Salem witch trials in 1692 and McCarthyism of the Cold War. Two of the exact same events, just slightly altered. Humans are taught history in school to try to learn from the past, but for some reason things happen again and again, just with different masks. This segues into our first faction for today's video, the Minutemen. The Minutemen in-game is a noble faction made up of random settlers in the Commonwealth. They band together as some kind of militia to try to take back the Commonwealth, often helping the residents by taking care of problems such as ghouls, super mutants, and raiders. By the time the sole survivor finds them, they're down to a small group, and the idea of ready at a minute's notice has died with the rest of them, except one man who still holds on to a small piece of hope that it can be rebuilt. If the sole survivor chooses to side with the Minutemen, Preston Garvey will name them the General, and you both rebuild the Minutemen, one settlement at a time. You can eventually build up enough numbers to storm the Institute and purge the Commonwealth of one less evil. This should sound familiar to you even if you haven't played the games before, because this has happened in American history. The British are coming, is a quote from Paul Revere's Midnight Ride to rally the militia and prepare them for the upcoming battles of Lexington and Concord during the American Revolution. They went on to become a quarter of the American military during the Revolutionary War. And just like what happens in Fallout 4, they did ultimately rid North America of one less evil. I'm using air quotes because it's a matter of perspective, but anyways, as noble as the concept of the Minutemen is, both in real life and in Fallout, there's another faction in game that is arguably just as noble, the Railroad. The Railroad is a group in the Commonwealth whose goal is to liberate the Gen 3 Synths from the Institute. Gen 3 Synths are often a controversial topic in the game and a controversial concept in real life.
You? I don't know you. Just keep your distance.
Keep calm. I'm standing still.
That's exactly what a synth would say. But I don't know. Are you really, human?
Human as the day I was born.
Well, you do look human enough. But I'll be watching you. I have eyes like well, they're good eyes. Got it? All right. We can do business, but no funny stuff.
I've got a few minutes to browse.
Just don't call it junk.
true artificial intelligence. Now this ChatGPT BS. Real intelligence capable of emotion and free thinking created by man. The synths are indistinguishable from humans until death and dissection. Sean tells the sole survivor synths simply mimic human emotion and behavior, but we see repeatedly this isn't true. They genuinely form their own connections and therefore emotions tied to these relationships. The Institute uses them as the tools they created them to be, but knowing they think and feel makes it seem more like slavery. The Institute ignores this fact and continues viewing them as tools, robots, creations, not people. The Railroad thinks otherwise. They see how synths are and argue free thinking, free will, and emotion on top of being indistinguishable anatomically from humans makes them human. They pose a serious question of morals to the sole survivor and therefore the player. What separates humans from animals? A question that has no answer. Scientists don't have an answer. You could say a soul, but then the question becomes, what determines a soul in a creature? If it's not emotion, because animals have those, and it's not free thinking, then what gives us a soul? The slaves during the colonial times were often viewed by Americans the same way as the Gen 3 synths by the Institute. They were seen as tools, as subhuman, regardless of the fact they looked the same, felt emotion all the same, and had free will all the same. The real-life group, known as the Underground Railroad, had a focus on freeing these people. What started as a group of slaves running away on their own turned into an organized group of intricately connected tunnels and safe houses in the 1780s. It ran north and continued to expand until President Abraham Washington? Why is that in here? It ran north and continued to expand until President Abraham Lincoln issued the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st, 1863. These two factions are simply two repeated organizations in Fallout's history, but there are other pieces in this game that match this topic of repetition, most notably the second Battle of Bunker Hill. You also have the Brotherhood of Steel's militaristic ideals in the pursuit of technology and power over diplomacy that is repeated in the canonical history of Fallout. Or even stretching a small bit, Nuka World, or just Nuka-Cola in general, and its impact on consumer culture. It mimics the real world. The game is full of these instances of recurring echoes of the past. I love when games can take real-world concepts such as historical patterns and integrate it into the story in a way that feels natural. I know the game is very blunt and in your face with the danger of periodical patterns, and everything I've said probably has you thinking, yeah duh, but it's still something intriguing to me and I wanted to share it here. There's a million other things I would love to talk about in this game, so if you guys come up with something you would like to see, let me know in the comments. If you like this video, let me know by leaving a like and subscribing. Thank you guys so much for watching, and remember,